Greyson arrived in Italy earlier than he had planned. As his plane touched down at Fiumicino Airport, he felt the familiar rush of excitement and purpose that always accompanied his visits to Rome. Passing through the bustling airport, he expertly maneuvered past the crowds, his mind already racing with thoughts of the crucial meetings ahead. He straightened his tie, smoothed his jacket, and collected his briefcase, ready to dive into the whirlwind of negotiations that awaited him. His driver, Marco, a seasoned local with a charming accent and an easy smile, greeted him warmly and escorted him to a sleek black sedan. "Buongiorno, Mr. Greyson," Marco said, holding the door open with a flourish. "Buongiorno, Marco," Greyson replied, sliding into the back seat as he brought out his tablet to analyze some charts. "Let's head straight to the hotel. I have a lot to prepare." As they passed the narrow cobblestone streets, Greyson's phone buzzed incessantly with emails and messages. His eyes darted from one historic landmark to another. The Colosseum standing proud in the morning light. The intricate fountains that adorned every square. And the vibrant, bustling markets. Yes, I'll need the latest financial reports before the board meeting, Greyson said into his phone, his tone commanding yet composed as she continued taking some notes down on his tab. Make sure the projections are updated with the most recent data. And Jessica, please reschedule my call with the Tokyo office for tomorrow afternoon. He hung up, only for the phone to ring again immediately. Mr. Greyson, it's essential we discuss the merger clauses in detail before the meeting. There are a few points I need clarity on. His assistant's voice came through crisply. "Go ahead," Greyson replied, his focus sharp. As Marco expertly maneuvered through the winding streets, Greyson delved into a complex discussion about contractual terms, financial forecasts, and strategic alignments. The synergy between our companies needs to be clearly outlined in the agreement. I don't want any ambiguities. Make sure the legal team has reviewed the environmental impact assessments as well. Understood, Mr. Greyson. I've also noticed a potential issue with the equity distribution. Some of the shareholders might not be on board with the current proposal. That's why I need the revised figures before tomorrow's presentation, Greyson said, his voice firm. We need to ensure everyone sees the benefits clearly. Also, arrange a call with the marketing team to discuss the launch strategy. I want a comprehensive plan that leverages both traditional and digital channels. The car pulled up to the luxurious Hotel Hassler, perched majestically at the top of the Spanish Steps. Greyson stepped out, his gaze briefly meeting the breathtaking panorama of the city below. He checked in swiftly, the staff's efficiency mirroring his own meticulous standards. In his suite, Greyson took a moment to appreciate the surrounding elegance. Marble floors gleamed under the soft lighting. Antique furnishings spoke of timeless class, and the balcony offered a stunning view of the eternal city. But there was no time to stay for long. He quickly showered, changed into a crisp suit, and reviewed his notes for the meeting. His mind a whirlwind of strategies and potential outcomes. His phone buzzed again, this time with a call from his brother. "Romano, I have just arrived. Can you come pick me up?" "I want to go over some details before the meeting," Greyson said, his tone softening slightly. "Of course, Greyson. I'll be there in 15 minutes," Romano replied. As Greyson waited, he couldn't help but reflect on the partnership he shared with his brother. Romano, with his easy charm and deep connections in the European market, complemented Greyson's strategic mind perfectly. Together, they were an unstoppable force in the business world. A few moments later, Romano arrived in his sleek Maserati, exuding the same effortless sophistication as always. "Welcome back to Rome, brother." He greeted Greyson with a warm embrace. "Ready to take on the world?" "Always," Greyson replied with a confident smile. As they drove through the city, Greyson's phone buzzed again. "Romano, do you mind if I take this?" Greyson asked, already knowing the answer. "Go ahead," Romano said, glancing at his brother with a smirk. "Mr. Greyson? It's Christine from the London office. We've run into an issue with the merger's public relations strategy. It's..." Greyson sighed but kept his tone professional. "What seems to be the problem, Christine?" "There's concern about how the merger will be perceived by our European partners. We need a clear communication plan that addresses potential backlash and highlights the benefits." "Understood. Schedule a meeting with the PR team for later today. I want a draft of the press release and talking points for all key executives by the end of the day," Greyson instructed. "And make sure the social media strategy aligns with the overall message." "Will do, Mr. Greyson." Hanging up, Greyson turned to Romano. "He just got back and is already exhausted. Looks like it's going to be a long day." "Isn't it always?" Romano replied with a chuckle. But that's why we're here. Let's go over those details you mentioned." Greyson nodded, pulling out his tablet. "We need to make sure the integration plan is flawless. Any hiccups, and we'll lose investor confidence." They spent the rest of the drive discussing the finer points of the merger, from operational logistics to cultural integration. Romano's insights were invaluable, his experience in the European market providing a perspective Greyson knew he couldn't get anywhere else. The afternoon was a blur of meetings, each one as intense and critical as the last. Greyson and Romano met with key stakeholders, discussing everything from market expansion to employee integration. Each meeting required Greyson to be at his sharpest, his mind constantly switching gears to address the various facets of the merger. In a conference room overlooking the bustling streets of Rome, Greyson and Romano sat with the head of their legal team, Maria Rossi. "We need to ensure all regulatory approvals are in place before the end of the quarter," Greyson stated, his voice steady as he folded his arms, leaning towards his chair with a stern look. Maria nodded, her expression serious. "I've been in contact with the regulatory bodies in both countries. There are a few compliance issues we need to address, but nothing insurmountable." "Good," Greyson replied. "I want detailed report on my desk by tomorrow morning. We can't afford any delays." After the meeting, they moved to a more casual setting, a high-end cafe near Piazza Navona. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee and the sight of artfully crafted pastries welcomed them. They sat at a corner table, the ambience a mix of soft chatter and the clink of porcelain cups. "Romano, about the marketing strategy," Greyson began, his tone thoughtful as he took a careful sip of his coffee. We need to ensure our messaging is consistent across all platforms. The launch needs to make a strong impact." "Agreed," Romano replied, taking a sip of his espresso. "I've already spoken with our European marketing director. We're aligning our campaigns to highlight the merger's benefits, especially the innovation and expanded reach." Greyson nodded, appreciating his brother's proactive approach. "We also need to be prepared for any negative press." "We'll be ready." I've arranged a meeting with our PR team this afternoon. We'll go over all possible scenarios. As they discussed strategies and contingencies, Greyson felt a deep sense of satisfaction. They were covering every angle, ensuring that no detail was overlooked. Later, as the sun began to set, painting the Roman sky in hues of orange and pink, Greyson and Romano found themselves walking through the historic streets. The day had been long, but it was far from over. "Greyson," Romano said, breaking the comfortable silence. "There's something you should see." Curious, Greyson followed his brother through a series of narrow alleys until they reached a small, unassuming building. Romano led him inside to a hidden gem of a restaurant, known only to locals. The interior was warm and inviting, with rustic wooden tables and the mouth-watering scent of authentic Italian cuisine filling the air. They were greeted by the owner, an old friend of Romano's, who welcomed them with open arms and a hearty laugh. As they sat down to a meal of fresh pasta, perfectly cooked meats, and rich velvety wines, Greyson felt a sense of peace wash over him. The day's stresses melted away in the fuzz of good food, great company, and the timeless charm of Rome. "So, brother," Romano said, raising his glass, "to us, to the future." Greyson clinked his glass against Romano's, a smile spreading across his face. "To us," he echoed, "and to all the possibilities that lie ahead."